The North Korea-Russia partnership has become tighter following the summit of their two leaders last week. But that's also the case for the partnership between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan, with their first trilateral multi-domain drill taking place this week. We are joined by Professor Brian Myers for more. Good morning.
Good morning.
Professor Myers, let's talk about the nuclear-powered U.S. aircraft carrier, USS Theodore Roosevelt, and the trilateral exercise.
Well, the main advantage of nuclear-powered aircraft carriers like this one is that they don't need refueling stops, so they can stay on the job for a long time. They've got a really big operational range, and they can deploy at short notice to pretty much anywhere in the world. Now, the Roosevelt has been in service since the mid-1980s, so it's been in a lot of action on behalf of the U.S. military in the Middle East and elsewhere, and it carries dozens of aircraft and helicopters, as well as thousands of sailors and aircrew. And of course, it's coming to Busan, or it's here in Busan now, at a very tense time in the region. So this is making headlines around the world.
Definitely. Let's talk about the significance of this drill. I mean, should we see this exercise as a response to the summit between the leaders of North Korea and Russia, Putin and Kim Jong-un?
Well, that's a good question, because the trilateral military exercise in itself was agreed upon earlier this month, even before that summit between Putin and Kim, which nobody really expected would result in the kind of treaty that it resulted in. But it's a significant drill anyway, because it's a trilateral exercise involving Japan, South Korea, and the United States. And it shows that even though a formal trilateral alliance doesn't exist, the three countries are kind of behaving as it does. The whole point of Freedom Edge is to strengthen intercommunication, interoperability, as they call it, between the countries. So, as I say, this was planned before the summit in Pyongyang, but the Russians and the North Koreans are saying it's exactly this kind of military exercise that has impelled them to sign that treaty. So, of course, our side takes a very different view, saying that North Korea's nuclear program makes drills like this necessary. But I think there's truth probably to both perspectives.
Right, what a coincidence, but I'm sure North Korea and Russia want to use the drill as an excuse to, tighten their partnership. Now, how big of a threat or a challenge will the three-way drill be to the North? I mean, will North Korea react to the drill in any way?
Well, exercises are always a big deal to adversarial countries because they can never be completely sure of the exercising country's intent. So they might well suddenly result in actual attacks. And from North Korea's perspective, our side's exercises pose a special challenge because they force the North Korean military to engage in counter exercises, which requires a lot of energy and oil that is in very short supply in North Korea. There's a propaganda challenge here, too, in as much as Kim Jong-un, as the leader of a military-first state, is going to feel pressure to show his people and the outside world that he's not intimidated. So I would expect some reaction to the drill, or at least some sort of military or ballistic activity that can plausibly serve the function of a stern warning to the United States. And it's all very worrying, really, how this tension has been increasing just over the past few weeks. And I guess we can only hope that things don't go too far.
Right. And my colleague Unji just reported Seoul is now considering providing lethal support to Ukraine as an option to pressure Russia. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, there's still a lot of uncertainty as to just what that agreement between Putin and Kim Jong-un actually entails. It took, I think, all of us by surprise, myself included. And we're all a little bit uncertain now as to how much we can read into this treaty, because it entails a mutual commitment to provide military assistance if either country is attacked. But what exactly does military assistance mean, and exactly what kind of military attack would result in that assistance? So the big question here in South Korea is how to respond, because nobody wants to overreact and make matters worse. Let's remember there's not a whole lot of solidarity with Ukraine here, and there's a lot of reluctance to forego the good trade relationship that Russia and South Korea have enjoyed for quite some time now. So I think the South Koreans want to wait a bit and see how that summit treaty really changes the nature of military cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang.
Definitely, it's not going to be an easy choice for Seoul either.
Nope.
Now, In the meantime, the North is expected to hold a plenary meeting of the ruling Workers' Party of Korea this week to review their policy performance in the first half as they have done so in the past. Now, will they be discussing its upgraded partnership with Moscow?
No doubt they will, but not discussing it in any substantial sense. I always warn against taking North Korean party meetings and conferences too seriously, because although the regime tries to project the image of a party state operating according to formal procedures like this, it's very much a one-man dictatorship. And these events serve little purpose except to acclaim the leader. So the question is whether Kim Jong-un himself uses this meeting as an opportunity to maybe give a speech that offers a bit more insight into just what that military treaty entails. That's what we're looking for.
Lots of things being unfolded this week here on the Korean Peninsula. Thank you, Professor Myers, for your insight as always. We appreciate it.
Thank you.